there were plenty of people, new or sometimes experienced, that even when the market was supporting people being able to do a lot of deals, they weren't. It seems like at that time in those hot markets, our activities just pay off sooner, but it's not just sit around.
Now it's still very much knowing your objections, but it always morphs and transforms because the market is ever changing. To come up such a beautiful pie of serving that many families in the area and having that momentum to go to absolutely nothing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level Up Podcast with myself, Greg Harrelson. This is where I focus on taking you from agent to entrepreneur. As you know, I have a passion for developing agents. And on today's episode, I'm going to share another quick strategy on how you can increase your production. I'm going to be real, so you be ready. Let's level up.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Level Up Podcast. I am Brendan Payne, and today I'm excited. We've got a great guest today. Her name is Lauren Buckler. Lauren is one of our agents in Century 21 Palms, in one of our offices in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I'm excited to let her share her story, her journey in the real estate world. So Lauren, thank you for hopping on. It's great to see you. And I'm looking forward to this.
Good to see you. Thanks for inviting me. Didn't
know
what to expect, but excited to be here.
Yeah, no, I would not know what to expect is perfect, because then everybody knows, this is pretty candid.
Raw.
It's not going to be some pre-planned interview. So it's going to be great. And for those of you listening or watching this, it's more than just the production numbers. And I want you to listen for, the things that you may identify with in her story. She kind of goes through how her production has changed and how she built confidence, pushed through rejection, like all of us have had to do, break through comfort zones, and listen from your standpoint. And you may find that spark that then ignites, what you can do and what you can achieve in your business. So with that, let's get started.
Sounds good.
Lauren, for those of you that, for those of the people that are listening in the audience that don't know you, maybe just give us a brief introduction of kind of your time in the business, your production levels and stuff like that. They get to know you a little bit.
Okay, sure. So I got my license in the fall of 2020. So 2020 was a year of change for all of us since it was COVID, and I was no different. So went to school, got the license fall, started off as a part-time agent. And then by February of 2021 was a full-time agent. My first contract was done in April of 2021. Finished out that year probably in like the 10 to 15 transaction range. Following year was like 30 range. And then 2023 was 35, 38 range. That was my best year to date at 10 million in sales. Believe it or not, coming off of those numbers, 2024 was not great for me. I joked and just kind of said someone had a voodoo doll of me that stops me from working with families. I hate to even say what I did that year, but it was like 8 transactions.
Okay.
But happy to say that the voodoo doll is officially gone, and I've already done 18 transactions for the year.
Wow. So that is so a couple of things I just want to unpack there.
Sure.
Like most people, you were in business for 6-9 months, maybe close to a year before doing your first deal.
Yep. Because of being part-time, I was still working a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Transitioning, trying to figure out how I'm going to make real estate work and steady paycheck, saving up money, that kind of situation.
Yep.
So, it was that length of time. It was definitely a leap of faith, if you will. But the way like my full-time job ended and pushed me into full-time real estate. I'm glad it worked out the way it did, because if you really look at it from, okay, I went full-time February and got my first contract in April, like that's pretty short to me. So I was proud
Yeah.
of that.
Yes, for sure. And you should be. Okay. So you said right now you got about 18 close. You're trending this year to be right back on track
Yeah.
for your numbers in 2023. And so we're just going to 2024 didn't exist. We're just
We're not going to talk about that anymore. Yeah.
all right, perfect. I have a feeling it might come up at some point.
Okay.
We'll see. So now you've heard me say many, many times probably that this business, real estate in general, is a game of confidence.
Mm.
And I want to know, how confident were you in your skills when you started out?
Not. I'm thankful that all of my past jobs at least led me in a direction of customer service, people focused, and, acts of service from the heart. I've always, in some way, shape, or form, taken care of other people. So my previous job served me well to build a foundation, but it was just that. It was a foundation, not even related to real estate. It was just a foundation. So very, very little real life training, if you will, for the real estate world when I first started. I feel terrible saying this, but it was like I was just kind of winging it and just doing the best I could with all of my common sense.
Go up. Well, yeah, that's one way to do it. And I think honestly, if most people are candid about it, then there is a big portion of fake it until you make it. In terms of, just because we don't always have that experience. But the nice thing is, if you surround yourself with people that do have the experience, you still have resources. Even though you don't have the time under your belt, you've had the resources.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of that too is when you're not well versed yet, or you don't have those experience, or you're not confident with yourself, just at least agree and make a deal with yourself that you are comfortable saying, I don't know, but I'll find out for you.
Sure.
And you know what? I'm not sure. This is a little different than something I've dealt with in the past. I'll find out. However you want to tweak it, to fit whatever you're comfortable saying, rather than, gosh, I have no idea because I'm a new agent.
Right. Or making something up that's just completely wrong.
Or, oh gosh, don't make anything up. Yeah. That'll bite you in the butt.
Yes. Okay. So was there a moment that you can remember where, early in your career, where you actually started to believe, okay, I can actually do this at a high level? And what led to that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like when I started, I had a little bit of the easy way out. And what I mean by that is it was pandemic times. So there were so many buyers. Yeah. So if you did very simple, basic things, knew how to communicate well, could answer your phone, got back to people in a timely manner, you were having a pretty good year. And especially if you are using your lead systems too, to just get people on the phone. So, that's just my story. That's how it started for me. That the ball was already rolling in ways that I didn't have to create. I was just there, and I was ready, and I was hungry, and I was eager, and I did it.
Yeah, dude.
So from there, because of how quickly things were happening and how many people needed service at that time, I was like, wow, I really need to step up my game, and I've got to start to fine tune skills and go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. You gained some confidence. You did a good amount of deals in that time period where the deals were available. But I will say there were plenty of people, new or sometimes experienced, that even when the market was supporting people being able to do a lot of deals, they weren't, just because they might have just not been doing any activities at that point. It seems like at that time in those hot markets, our activities just pay off sooner, but it's not like you just sit around. And
No.
so I think that that's good to recognize that part of that momentum was created by the market.
Yeah, but I was definitely not sitting around. I was on the phone. I was doing open houses. I was asking for referrals of the people I was coming in contact with. I was making sure my sphere of influence knew I was now a full-time agent. And just, sharing my passion for the beach and living here and inviting others to be part of that too.
Okay, good. So for somebody that has didn't come from a direct sales background, which I think a lot of people in real estate don't come from a direct sales background. I didn't. A lot of people start and they were doing something else. And rejection is one of the challenges. It's like, man, I didn't realize the vast majority of people that I have conversations with are not a yes, I want to go buy a home today, or yes, you can come list my home for sale. There's a lot of rejection. So how did you deal with that early on? And then do you think that your perspective on rejection has changed over time?
Yeah, it was hard at first, to be honest with you, because I wasn't used to being shut down like that. I also didn't have a lot of practice at the time for objection handlers. So what I did was search, because at that time I was not with Century 21 Palms Realty yet. I was with a different brokerage. And while there was a certain amount of training, I didn't feel like it was everything I needed. So I sought out and found scripts of where I was struggling or what the buyers were saying as far as those objections. And I kind of found it myself, found resources, watched videos, downloaded files, participated in, forums and things like that. And I was a new agent, not wanting to spend money either. So a lot of the stuff that I sought out, luckily, was free. So yeah, I had to work through scripts, and I wrote them out like old school, like I was in school. And that's how I started to get things to sink in, because it's not like you're getting the same objection every time you're answering the phone. I mean, it could be up to 10 different objections in a day. So the writing of them is kind of what made them stick.
Yeah, the consumer doesn't have the script book when you're in a conversation with them or in the house showing them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so now it's still very much knowing your objections, but it always morphs and transforms because the market is ever changing. So an objection back then would have been, well, I don't feel like paying $50,000 over market value, so I'm going to wait it out until the market calms down. Versus now, which is, well, I don't want to buy a house because I feel the interest rates are too high, and then how to navigate that. So you are always learning, and you always need to remember to take time for training and education and learning from others so that you can keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to point something out that if you didn't catch this, and I want to make sure that you think about here, she mentioned that she didn't have, with her first company, she didn't have a lot of script and dialogue and objection handlers, smokescreen handlers, and stuff like that. But what did she do? She went out and found them on her own, and committed to memory, what we call internalize them, which in turn, then her confidence level in the conversation went up. Now, why am I pointing this out? I believe that we have the best scripts, dialogues, and objection handler smoke screens, but I'm biased. Of course, I'm going to do that. The important part is there's a lot of great scripts, dialogues, smoke screen handlers, objection handlers. There's a lot of great ones. It's typically not about what the actual words are. It's your confidence in delivery. So for the people who are constantly trying to figure out, like, well, what's the best script? What's the best dialogue? The best script and dialogue for you and your business is the one that you can confidently present to your buyers and sellers. You believe it and you communicate it very effectively. That's what leads to conversion. So you can be like Lauren. And even if you're like, I've got 50 things to choose from, just choose one. Choose one, get really good at it, and
Yeah.
watch how effective it is.
Yeah.
Versus I find the perfect one.
Yeah. And I think, you want to know, how did the confidence start to build? Well, here's one way: you get thrown into a room during training, or I've gone to a few conferences. I have a couple of conferences under my belt. And in those more intimate trainings, if you're in the office, you're pairing up and you're breaking off into teams, and you are objection handling, or you are practicing your scripts. But talk about being in a large conference room of like 300 to 500 people, depending on what conference it was, and they are making you stand up and do it. And if you think you're going to fake it, you cannot, because they have people walking around the room and making sure you're doing it. And if you're not doing it, they call you out, they come right up to you, and then you have to do it with them. So that is one way to just throw yourself into the fire. An easier way, which I've also learned, is just talk to yourself in the mirror, or talk to yourself on your phone and record yourself. How do you sound? Are you happy? Are you smiling? Are you personable? Are you feeling like you're engaged, or are you totally disconnected? So there's some easier ways before just like having to do it in front of a group of people.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the advice to record and listen back to it. That's how you sound.
Yeah.
People say all the time, I hate to watch myself on video or listen to myself. It's like, that's what everybody else sees. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I've never met somebody I've probably met a couple of people that really like the way that they sound or look on video, but most people can't stand it. Well, guess what? That's what the general public sees. So
yep. And I hate it just as much, like you said, but here I am still doing business. So people out there like me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So with that type of production and that type of, what I would say is a pretty quick start, there's there's agents that are in business for years before they hit, a deal or two a month.
Yeah.
So that quick start, no matter what type of run you're on in your business, there's always these little valleys. There's always these frustrations that come. So can you share a time where maybe you felt stuck or frustrated in your business? And then what did you do to break through that?
I mean, all of 2024, I was stuck. And it was really hard for me, like the first few months, to come up such a beautiful high of serving that many families in the area, and having that momentum to go to absolutely nothing, and then questioning yourself, like, what did I do? What changed? What this? What that? I truly don't feel like I ever figured out what happened in 2024, because I feel like if you talk to some of our leadership, then you and I both know, they know I was in the office. They know I was making the calls. They know I was doing the open houses. So it was just a fluke. I don't know. But there was a lot of pity parties. There was a lot of pity parties. But I was like, there is no way that you are going to get past this sitting in your pity party. So you just need to show up to the office. You need to continue your training. You just need to refine your skills. You need to continue on the phones, and it's going to turn around. So I just believed so wholeheartedly that it would turn around, even though it took way longer than I would have liked. But I just knew with what I had done in the previous years that this wasn't the end for me. I was like, for whatever reason, there's a challenge here. I switched my thinking, and I was like, for whatever reason, I'm being asked if I truly want to be a real estate agent. And I stuck it out for the whole year, and the answer is yes. And proof is in the pudding that you can change things, albeit again longer than I wanted to.
Sure.
because it's not even July and I'm having a really good year so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that I think you hit on a key part is first is whatever happened, it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
and there's zero opportunity in dwelling on it. I'm sure many times you look back and say, can I figure something out? And you took some things from it, but there's no benefit in staying there. And the other thing is you recognize that there's there's times where stuff like that happens. And there's gonna probably be times in your future where these little gaps happen or something takes you away from your activities. And then that shows up a few months down the road. And so feeling bad about the fact that you're feeling bad that's not a bad thing. Like it's not, oh my gosh, I can't feel bad about this or I can't be down about this production. The key is recognizing when it's happening, like, okay, this is happening. And then I think the lifelong journey for all of us is how quickly can we get ourselves out of them? Don't beat yourself up for being in a funk, but how quickly can you recognize it? And then have you kind of perfected how to get your mind back in the right spot and just not dwell, not wallow, because it's a lot easier to do that than it is to move forward. But that's something that I think we all will continue to work on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always something like worse in life that could be happening, right? Sure, I wasn't out selling homes like I wanted to, but it could always be worse, right? So I was like, well, I'm still healthy, I'm still happy, I'm still this, I'm still that. So the mindset is just so powerful. And I learned that just a couple years ago with my husband being sick and going through cancer and treatment. And we talked about how are we going to get through that. And we both agreed mindset, 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 being positive. Because if you darken your world, you're not going to get out of it. So just choose light, surround yourself with awesome people, do whatever you need to do to shake off the bad stuff and to focus on the good, and you'll make it through.
Yes, agreed. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. You're doing big things in business, and you're doing some big things outside of business. And I will tell you, I think those things are directly related.
Yeah.
You're doing big things in your business. You're doing big things in your life outside of business. And I know you have your first half marathon coming up this year. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to see you complete that.
Oh, thank you.
That's going to be awesome. A few weeks ago, a few of us that we did a triathlon in up in Cape May. And the only reason I tell you that is to give context to this next piece that I want to share with you.
Okay.
And there was we were given like this mental prep sheet beforehand, which was really cool. I've never received one of those from an event ahead of time, and they gave these tips. And one of the tips said, just remember that fear always precedes courageous action. Fear always precedes courageous action, or essentially you can't be courageous if there's no fear.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that kind of hit me. I kind of heard the concept, but I've never heard it put that way. So what's something that you were uncomfortable with or maybe fearful of doing at first that now plays a big role in your success?
Cold calling. That honestly, it's still my enemy deep down. But because the mindset is better and because we have opportunities within the office to do it together at a certain time and you're able to kind of hear others, see others, show up with others and be like, I'm not walking this alone. I've got support. There's people right behind me that keep me hitting dial next, dial next, dial next. So that's just how I thrive. If that wasn't around me, I would need to do something to go out and find it.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage other people to do the same.
Yeah.
But that also can be scary. But getting on the other side of it is like, what did I ever try to talk myself out of that for? Because it's so much better.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make a prediction. When you finish with this, because it takes some guts to say, yeah, I'm gonna go do this half marathon. And I know you're training for it, and you're gonna be like, I already know it's a done deal. You're gonna be amazing. But when you finish that, the thing that you're gonna experience is like, okay, what next? Because once you expand your experiences, it's kind of like the balloon. You blow the balloon up and you let all the air out of it. The balloon never goes back to the same size. So once you have expanded your experience in that physical endurance of that, then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, all right, what's next? Maybe not right after. Every scene after, you're gonna be open to, what comes next. And that's the cool thing about understanding fear. It's like that's part of it in everything that you do. You don't even have a chance to be courageous unless there's fear at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think after I do that, I'll probably need a nap. And like want to eat pancakes or something.
5 guys.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I love hearing about all the things that you and Greg and the other guys do. So if there's ever a slot open to go like hang glide through one of the jungles or climb whatever mountain it's going to be that day, I'll just be a phone call away for sure.
Good. I'm right.
And I agree with you with the going hand in hand, because that is one thing I observed with switching to Palms Realty, and how if you combine all different aspects of your life, health, the way you eat, working out, your structure for work. I wasn't a believer at first, but then I slowly started doing little by little accountability groups, little 70-day workout groups. Yeah, that like all of the pieces are coming together now. So I'm a believer.
Outstanding. Okay. What beliefs about success, or maybe it was sales, in general, what did you have to let go of? Previous beliefs or things that maybe held you back in order to grow in your business?
Just like outside noise, honestly. I think social media is such a big part of our lives. And although it's supposed to be there for good, there's a lot of it that isn't. And I'm seeing that for no reason at all, if I would say something, I'm going to go do this, like there would be naysayers. So it's like, why? What am I doing about that triggers you to want to be negative to me? It's my life. It's my choosing. I'm not asking you to come along. If you want to, great, give me a call. But if you don't, like, why do you have to be a naysayer? Why can't you just sit back and take it as the approach of, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's really neat to see. I'm going to go on the journey with you, but just from behind my screen. I'm not, So it's just weird how noisy people can be, like for no reason. So that kind of stinks. But once you find your people, you sit yourself at the table you want to be because you know you can and you believe it, just do it. And honestly, save telling people until after the fact, if that's easier for you, rather than doing it ahead of time and wanting people to be on the journey. So I think if you take those baby steps, you can be better at just sharing with intention. And then the people who want to be there will be. And it's easier for you to cast out the ones that aren't. Because I'm going to be honest, part of doing this half marathon is going to be me needing to be annoyingly posting about it for my sake, for me to show up every day. For me.
Accountability.
Yes. Yes. And that it's just like a live journal. And so if you want to see it, good. If you don't, unfriend me. Not going to hurt my feelings because I'm doing the half marathon with or without them.
That's right. That's right. Well, the one thing too that I'll tell you, you probably know this, inherently, you know this, but it's a good reminder for all of us. For every person that's out there that has got a comment or a eye roll or something that's not supportive, just remember there are people that you're never going to know about that are watching you and are being inspired by you. They're not going to come up to you and tell you, listen, this was really inspiring and I really appreciate you doing this. It helped me. But we are all being watched by other people, no matter who they are. If you're a parent, obviously, and I know, that's an important part of it, but there's always somebody that's watching what you're doing and they're either inspired or they're broken down by it. And so that's I think one of the things that keeps me, doing things that maybe, you don't always get that support on or you get the eye roll on. It's knowing that there's somebody out there that hopefully I'm making an impact on.
Yeah. And I wholeheartedly agree with you for that statement. And I've been on both sides of that. I've been the inspired and I've been the inspiree for sure.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay. So last question. What's one thing that somebody that's listening to this, maybe they're a little stuck, maybe a little frustrated, maybe they're just new in the business and don't really know what to expect yet. What's one thing that they could start doing in their business to kind of move the needle, say, over the next 60 to 90 days?
You really need to build your pipeline. And there's a lot of ways to do that. There's sending out postcards. There's joining networking groups. There's going to open houses. There's utilizing your company's lead systems. There is texting, emailing, tons of ways. And as a new agent, you probably don't know yet what is going to be the best fit for you or the best return on your investment. So for me, I really just did everything that I could. And I took leads from wherever. And I didn't ever think I should be doing this amount. It was, nope, you're going to do all transactions, regardless of a budget or location. Just hit the ground running because those little ones will add up to. And so it's just great to look at the whole picture rather than like pick and choose. Just take it all, go from all directions.
Yeah, just be in action. Awesome. Great information. And I appreciate you sharing that. So for the audience, Lauren started where a lot of you might be right now, maybe a little uncertain, a little uncomfortable, maybe even stuck in your business. And what pushed her through? What did you hear that pushed her through? I heard consistency, mindset was a huge part of it. And she was actually willing to grow. Like we say all the time, people say all the time, oh, I want to grow my production. But then you look and see what are they willing to do to grow? And there's nothing there. She was willing to take the steps that were going to allow her to grow. So you don't need to make this leap all at once. You just start taking a step forward today. Tomorrow, take another one. The next day, take another one. In the gap between where you are today and where you want to be, it's closed. That gap is closed by the actions that you take. So again, Lauren, outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with the audience. And you know, I know it's going to make an impact on them. So I appreciate that contribution. And I'm excited for the rest of your 2025 and really excited to see what you do outside of business too. So thanks so much. And we'll talk with you again soon, everybody.
Thanks, Brendan.